Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill Neiman's Bogus Hangout. We got Webmaster T with us today. How are you, Terry?
Pretty good, Bill.
Good.
I don't have a site or anything. I'm just me showing up.
Well, it's good to have you join us anyway.
That's good.
I mean,
That's a first.
what's that? No, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I've had
Guess it depends who you talk to.
I've had clients who signed up with us who have quoted Bill Neiman Bogus Hangouts with presentations from you. They said, "Didn't Terry always say this?" Or "Doesn't Terry always say this?"
Even a squirrel finds a chestnut once in a while.
Well, you sort of been in this game for a little while.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe Danny's the only person I know who's been doing it longer than I have. And then we're both writing about it at about the same time.
Danny, as in Danny Sullivan?
Yep. He didn't even have search engine watch then. It was Calafia, I think was the name. It was very long time ago.
What is Calafia short for?
Don't know. That's what his site was. That was the domain name, and he had something called Site Fights was the first way I found him. And Search Engine Watch didn't even have, when he opened it up, didn't have that much going on there.
Okay, so don't get mad at me for suggesting this, but when is your chance to join Google?
Pardon me?
When is your chance to join Google?
Oh, I'll never join the enemy. I am not a traitor. I know who buttered my bread for 25 years, and it wasn't Google. Everything I owe, everything for the last 25 years, most of it came from the community.
So, was there any search engine you didn't feel antipathy for the way you might with Google? Any search engines?
I'm sorry.
Any search engines you've liked?
Oh, yeah. InfoSeek was an old favorite of mine. Even when Google first came, I still used InfoSeek for quite a while.
But
before.
Zara?
Right.
Zara?
Yeah.
What's your favorite search engine?
Now?
Yeah.
Now I use Google.
Do you have any that in the past that stand out to you?
Well, actually, InfoSeek long ago in the old.
Yeah.
In the old, when searching was pretty much Boolean thinking.
Yeah.
InfoSeek got me answers that nobody else did.
I liked Teoma when it was around.
Yes, that later they were the first ones to kind of use clustering and the kind of stuff that Google uses now. Yeah. At the time, Teoma was a little ahead of Google in the way that it wasn't just using links; it was using links and other. It was pretty good. Problem there is nobody has ever been able to scale their size the way Google has. No one has ever come close.
Even Microsoft seems to have troubles doing that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, well, part of it is Microsoft's crawler has always been an issue. I know when they first started, they were using Slurp, which was the old,
Say Yahoo's,
no,
Alta Vista.
oh, it'll probably come to me an hour after the show's done. That's what happens in your old age, Bill.
Yeah.
It was one of the better search engines back in the day.
One of the ones that Yahoo acquired. Because
Yes.
Yahoo was using
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't fast. Yeah, it'll come to me. Oh, you know how they were the first ones to add inclusion to the mix too.
Inktomi then, maybe.
Stinktomi, right. They were another search engine I really liked. And Inktomi was, I believe Tioma was come off of Inktomi too, didn't it?
I'm not sure it did.
I think they had some sort of relationship. I know that Tioma, that's what killed Tioma, was the company that was funding it, went under, kind of.
Tioma is a partner of Asks.
Ask.
Ask.
Okay. Yeah. Now, right. Yeah. Geez, we've seen a lot over the years.
I've got memories of ranking reports that had multiple search engines on them. It said just Google.
Yeah. Back in the day, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Trying to hit all the engines. Especially if you took all the hyperbole about how much of the search each engine owned. It was always, I would look in my analytics and see Google sending 90+% of the traffic on every website I ever worked on.
Yeah. I do remember ranking reports with 11 different search engines, though.
Well, back in the day, you had to be able to rank on 4 or 5 to get all the traffic. Now, if you hit Google, you'll get enough of the other ones because they're all copying one another too. Back in the day, those search engines actually did different things. Now they pretty well all doing the same things.
I remember Ammon writing a blog post, I guess you'd call it that. It was an article about 4 different ways, or 3 or 4 different ways to write pages to rank in different search engines.
Right. Then I wrote one that said you didn't have to do that. This is all you had to do.
Well, his approach was still good regardless, because it provided multiple ways for the same page, the same concepts to rank.
Yes. Well, people like that was when I first started. That was the thing. But I did that for about 2 months and said, this is not scalable. If you had multiple clients, right? If agencies were the size they were now and having to cover 5 engines like that, you couldn't do it. You could not do it with the amount of business out there now. Because back when I first started, the real technique was to write 4 different pages, 1 for each search engine. Then I kind of wrote a thing that said, no, if you hit the title and do this, this, and this, they all do that, and that'll rank you. The rest is ancillary.
So you're saying that agencies benefited by Google's prominence? It made it easier for them to...
well, could you imagine with the amount of clients that... Like back in the day, it wasn't that tough because if you had 4 or 5 clients, you were doing really well because there weren't that many people. There weren't that many people building websites. It was still mainly big businesses that were building websites back then.
And some small ones. Yeah.
Some, but you couldn't make a living just doing that like you could now.
So I remember working for some really small websites that did fairly well because they ranked well and they got lots of traffic, lots of customers.
Okay. That was my experience anyhow, that when I first started, it was really hard to get clients because there just weren't that many people that had the money that it took to,
I was working in house, so
also got to remember, I just worked in Canada, was, working Canada pretty well then. And things were a lot slower here than they were in the United States. It's still that way. I mean, you talk to almost any small business owner in the States and they have a website
yeah.
of some sort. I was working for a client and they had a bunch of people that also wholesale parts for them in 5 different areas of Canada, right?
Yeah.
So I phoned, So I phoned up about 20 of their dealers. 5 of them didn't even have email. And this was like 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And 10 of them didn't have websites. In the end, there was only like 4 that had real links that I could link to sites.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. That's about when I moved from Virginia to California. There were businesses in Virginia that didn't have websites. It surprised me. There are a lot less in California when I moved out here that didn't have websites.
Right. More, and that's the way it is in Canada. Small businesses don't have a website. I noticed that quite a few times along the way. That just seems small businesses, whenever you were doing cold calling, small businesses weren't really a target.
It just seems a lot more common here in California than on the East Coast in Virginia at the time, 5 years ago.
California.
Yeah.
That's like the center of technology in North America. There's a good reason for that, Bill.
I guess so.
So, in the Way of News this week, we got a confirmation on the local update.
Yeah, it's neural matching.
Yes. Which kind of spoke to what people were seeing, that it was matching more keyword phrases. And that would, I think, also is what's accounting for the extra. Remember, I was talking about categories?
Yeah.
That they were now listing multiple categories under the same search term, whereas in the past they didn't, or I hadn't noticed it. And anyhow, it's quite prevalent now.
Because the site can fit more than one category. A business can fit more than one category, and Google
Right.
more than one category because they do.
Right. I think you can pick 2 or 3 from their list. You can't just add whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I found that quite interesting.
I'm trying to find some patents that back that up, and I've found a couple that look maybe a little bit like they might fit. They're some of them are coming out. They're more vague than they've been in the past. When they start talking about neural networks and things like that,
Yeah.
they don't put as many details. They say we do this and we do this in neural network and magic.
Well, that's like the spice that your mother asks you to leave the room when she puts it in the stew, you know?
I think so.
Oh, for sure. That's a secret sauce, man.
My son-in-law is a chef.
Yeah.
And he just, when you ask him, well, what are the spices? He just smiles.
Yeah. You don't just give that stuff away. It's like a magician. It's a lot of ways. It's like a magician. Like the person that I learned that kind of stuff from, he was quite a well-known chef, I guess. He worked for the King of Spain for one.
Uh-huh.
So he used to do that, make everybody leave the kitchen when he was showing me stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Because he said you don't just show this to everybody.
No,
you show this to the people who have earned it.
It's true with SEO, isn't it?
Yes. That's why I encourage people to not be spoon-fed, to actually go out there and learn it yourself. You'll also find people like myself and Bill will share more with you as well because you're giving back.
Yeah, I'm much more prone to do that.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think sharing information is always beneficial because the people who really want to know respond, and that they will actually use that information, and then the people who think they already know, will give you trouble. It's like, oh, for gosh sakes, but I find that's a pretty common response when you're sharing information is the people who want to learn listen, and the people who think they know it all, say, well, they don't say I've always done it this way. They just have this position of not being open to considering hold on, my kitty's doing something really naughty.
Okay.
Anyway, they don't have he's a Coda, what is your story? Okay, there we go. He's left the room. They don't have an open mind. I mean, I don't know how you can learn anything if you don't have an open mind and at least consider a variation from what you're doing now, and that this was a couple of years ago when everybody was not really aware that search engine algorithms were changing, and people would, just got on their high horse about. I remember somebody, I can't even remember where this conversation was. It must have been on Google Plus, but some woman in India just couldn't let go. She just could not let go of the idea that, you had X amount of keywords and you had this in the title and so many in the first paragraph and and was super resistant to learning what the changes were, and what I think happens with people who do that is then their business becomes disappointing to their clients because they're not keeping up with what the changes are. That's why I think it's really important for people like me whose focus is writing to stay in touch with what is going on currently, because thank goodness writing for the web has changed to be much more natural in the way that it flows, so that speaking in language to people who visit your website in language that they understand in their vocabulary and their speech patterns really makes a difference now. It isn't all about, how many keywords are in your text and that sort of thing. And I think that's especially important for pages on a website.
It's one of the reasons why Google Trends is really helpful
Yeah, it is.
because you
It
can.
is, and I've been working on this project now I just figured it out. I think it's been a little over 2 years now, and we have a website launching in January, and we work so hard to think about, we know what we want it to accomplish, but we work so hard to think about the language on the website resonating with the people who are actually going to be using the website once it goes public in January. So we've worked really hard on that. I think it's so important because I think I've mentioned this before here on the Bogus Hangout, but that this was several years ago now, but I worked on a project that was reviewing like 40 some odd SaaS websites, and I just couldn't believe how horrible so many of them were, and how they kept things secret, and how they didn't explain, the basic stuff. Here's what we can do for you. How hard is that? I mean, I just don't understand that, but it was like, give us your name, address, business, how many people work in your company, your firstborn's address and phone number, and all this stuff, and then we'll have somebody contact you. That is not answering a question.
I think there's a fear of giving too much information out on your website.
Yep. If I was working on a website and they had to call people, I would get the name, phone number, and email address. Anything else is a waste of time. And I can tell you that from personal experience, where I worked for a payday loan company where they did the exact same thing. I did that, and the number of inquiries that they were getting doubled, because I could put right in the ad, takes 1 minute to fill out the form, and I wasn't lying.
Yeah. So if you have so what I'm saying, Terry, is that if you're not giving out information on your website about how your business, which is usually higher ticket, how your business can help another business, right? If you're not telling somebody that, at least in general benefit terms, we can help you X, Y, and Z, just pick 3, And before you tell them that, you tell them to fill in this long form.
They aren't going to fill in the form.
Sorry for their salespeople, because these poor people with whom they were getting in contact, had a problem. They wanted to solve it, right? And they were hoping that this particular company could help them solve that problem with their software. But they didn't have enough information, and theoretically it was the salesperson's job to give them all the details, right? But if you don't have the basics, and when somebody from a business connects with your software as a service company, it is often not the decision maker. It is the research person, the person who would really like to see this happen at their company or whatever it is. But that the salesperson still isn't making a sale because they're not talking to the decision maker. They're talking to the information gatherer. So at first touch, right? It seems to me that process, this is just me, but that process could be streamlined for software as a service agencies if they would just, tell us just a little bit more about what you do. So somebody who's doing the research can say, hey, this could be a fit. We really need to streamline our accounting, whatever it is, and make it available to our service providers and our accounting team and blah, 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 and whoever, But if you're not telling me that we can do all these things for you, the salesperson is contacting somebody in total ignorance and hoping
There's
for the
another, there's another issue I see with sites like that. When they ask questions, when they have long questionnaires that ask you things that really you don't want to answer, like how did you find our website? Search?
I know. When they ask those questions, I give the vaguest answers I possibly can.
Went to the doctor's office about a month ago, and he had a form to fill out as a patient. You're supposed to answer questions, and one of them was, "How did you find us?"
Oh, you're kidding.
It's like in real life, really?
Word of mouth. I don't know. It's like so here's the thing. They're collecting data, but it's the wrong data.
Yeah.
It's not informational to them about anything.
Well, here's what's really is, you know what? If they do it properly, salesperson and ask those questions as part of the sales call.
Right.
And he's setting up a rapport with the client. He's feeling out the client. You're giving him a reason to call and ask these questions. If you ask them on the website, whenever someone asks me anything, whether it be the phone or the website, I say, well, you should already know that. Why are you asking me these questions? Like when someone phones me, identifies they're calling from my cable company, and tries to sell me something that I already have.
Yep.
You're just wasting my time.
So rather than creating a general interest, I just want to make my point, because what I found was it was so consistently true that this particular type of business was doing that. They kept everything secret, that they're creating a disconnect instead of a connection with potential customers. Because it's a big, long decision-making process for a business to invest in a high-ticket item.
Yeah, they're not going to buy anything.
Sitting on the phone making that decision. It's a group of people. It's almost always a group of people. So say I'm the person who discovered your SaaS business, right?
Yeah.
And the salesperson calls and blah, 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 and all that happens. And now I'm like, okay, I'm pretty on board with this. I think we should investigate it further. And they want to send the COO and, some other people to the website so they can see what they're recommending. But then that person goes to the website and there's nothing to see. That's where all the communication just seems to break down, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, these days, I believe that the number of forms that are being filled out on websites is down considerably from a few years ago. I know that when I had worked for a client, my last few years in business, I worked for one client, and their phone calls every year was like doubling, to the point where forms being filled in, there was more spam than there was actual good stuff. I don't think people want to fill in forms anymore. They'll just call you, because then they know who they're calling, and it's just an easier way to do it. And it's so easy to do it because most people are on a smartphone when they're calling, when they're on the website.
Right.
Make those phone numbers click to call so they can do it right from their smartphone.
Exactly.
Well, and you don't even have to, on some phones, you don't even have to program it. If it's a phone number, it can see it.
It sees it and calls. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But it's still best practice to always put it in a link so it'll work in all phones.
Yep.
So I found another interesting piece today when I was looking for some news to talk about.
Yeah.
And one was some content that was taken from a webmaster's central with
Okay.
Mr. Mueller.
Yeah.
And it was on improving content for Google and users. So basically, how to improve content focus on a web page.
Mhm.
And the two things that I got out of it that were really important are heading tags are useful for indicating what a section of content is about. It's not about just keyword stuffing them to rank,
Right.
because that just doesn't work anymore. John said that, use your heading tags properly, make them correspond to the block of text. Man, I've been doing that for 25 years.
Yeah, and it's true. And what it seems to me, Bill, a while ago, it could be over a year ago, you were talking about headers and the how everything is organized under the title, the heading 1, and then each of those sections, the H2s and H3s and H4s, if you have them, are all subcategories of header 1. And yes, the headers are telling search engines. They're telling search engines that, yep, I'm still on topic, and here's what I'm discussing here. And then I'm still on topic, and here's what I'm discussing here. And what it does for the readers is that when you get to that web page, you look at the header, which probably got you there somehow, right? And then all the subheads, before you read all the stuff, you look at the subheads and you see some kind of logical progression that is inclusive of material that relates to whatever the title is of that page. And the headers work for website visitors as well as for search engines. I really feel strongly about that. Very few people, get to a web page, start reading sentence 1, and then keep going down through the whole page. But if they can easily scan the headers,
in an ideal world, you make your page as scannable as possible. You include headings, you include lists, you include images with captions.
Yep.
Make it really easier for a person to not hit a wall of text that just.
Yeah, well, a wall of text isn't very inviting.
Also, headings. And by the way, you're calling it headers. A header's actually a different thing. This is a heading. A header goes in. It's not actually seen. It's not what's in the head tag, right?
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, just don't want to confuse anybody, because when I hear header, I think of something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So and the other thing that John said that blocks that can improve content is to not use interstitials. That interstitials can block indexing. And a lot of people use them. They're nonsense. They should be outlawed. Personally, I believe that they should be outlawed. Anybody who says they're getting better click-throughs from it are fooling themselves. They're getting more click-throughs, but not more sales.
I really dislike passive-aggressive interstitials. The ones that at the bottom of them that have the little checkbox that you check to get rid of. Say something stupid like, "No, I don't want to rank number 1 for my keyword."
Right.
To me, it's just if I'm reading something, I don't want halfway through reading it, something plop up and block it. Right? I don't like that.
It's very.
I think that's totally intrusive.
It's
And I usually close that and close the tab.
Yep, that's what I do. That's my immediate response is, wait, I was reading this information and now you're trying to get me to X. You know, we're not in the same working universe. That's my personal response to those things.
You're interested in our page. You've read this far. You sign up for our newsletter, and it's got a little checkbox says, "No, I don't want to learn how to."
Yes, I know. They're really insulting little check marks. No, I want to remain ignorant.
I was reading. I didn't want to be interrupted. It's like when somebody starts screaming in a library.
Yep.
It's similar.
Yeah.
So Terry, in the article, does he recommend not using them at all, or what? Tell us more about what he said.
It's basically the ones that come up partway through. They come up timed, because that causes the page to change, and that'll not will screw up the indexing.
Okay.
So basically, the page reloads when they do that. Which, to me, anything you put in an interstitial, you could probably do with a banner at the bottom of the page when they're done. There's lots of better ways to do it.
Or a sidebar item or something.
Or when they go to click out, you do the interstitial then.
Yeah, in the middle is most annoying. And as Bill pointed out, those insulting check things. I just it's like, and it says, I don't want to know, I don't want to improve I have no interest in, and it was like, not with you. It's kind of my response.
Most of those, if you turn focus back to the page, they just disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know I always lose track of time, but I think it was a year ago that Google said, Google said, don't do it.
Google has been saying don't use interstitials for almost as long as I can remember. I remember when they penalized for that kind of stuff. That was quite a while ago, but they did penalize for that at one point.
I am here to interfere with your thought process.
We're pre-planning your customer journey through our website, whether you like it or not.
Right. And in regards to improving content focus, people don't really understand that when you have in a margin 50 links that go all over your site, that's actually removing focus from that article.
It is.
So that can be as much of a problem as, anything else. So, thinking you need 50 links to all parts of your site on every page is not really understanding how things work.
Sorry about the phone. Wait, where am I? Thank you. Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay. Skype happens. So it's reminding me of the article from last week, the Nelson Norman UX pinball interface.
Mr. Nielsen, you mean?
Yeah. Where you've got so many things going on the page that it's hard to pay attention to one part of it.
Yep.
when you have so much happening on search results that are different with every search that you don't know where to look first.
That's user experience to the max. Yeah, clean, in my opinion, clean and simple. For someone who wants to find out more, they are going to look for more. And if you've got all this stuff going on, I've seen web pages and service industries. Web pages are like, there's a thing in the middle, which is whatever that web page is about. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff over here, and there's a whole bunch of stuff over here. And it's really hard to focus on what that one web page is about, because it's saying, go watch our videos. Here are some, and somebody's going, while you're trying to read. And
it's so much about any one website except for Google. It was about how Google was making so many changes to search results that it was hard to pay attention to them when you came across new ones, because you would have so many different things you could see potentially.
Right. That makes it hard for SEOs.
Doing lots of experimenting where they're trying to be data driven, but it's like, if you make me the guinea pig and you make the maze different every time I run through it, I'm never going to learn what the maze actually does.
Right.
Which take.
Yeah. Right. I'll get my cheese somewhere else.
Yeah, but you have no choice with Google. That's the thing. There is no other cheese. There's just Google, unless you want, the curd that's left over.
Yeah, I'm not sure I want the Yahoo cheese.
Yeah, no way. It's rotten to the core.
Oh, Yahoo. Mm. But I think for a website, once somebody gets to your website,
yeah,
then it needs to be clear. Focus on that page wherever they are needs to be clear. And that if they want options, even on a mobile device, there's some kind of hamburger menu up there if they want to find out more. But having a whole bunch of stuff and two sidebars, a right one and a left one, is just utterly bewildering. And distracts from the focus of that one page.
If you have a 50-page website with 50 templates that are all different, you're really going to confuse people.
Right. However, I learned this because it was when Panda had just come out. A website that I knew very well had been affected. Me and Dave had been working on it, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong. So luckily, we could call somebody or email somebody. That somebody emailed Dave back and said, yeah, look at the column on the right there. And she had all of these links going to different parts of the website that were not related to the specific page that she was on, that you were on. So that basically confused the search engine. They didn't really know what the page was about. Content focus, right?
Oh, because of all the links in the sidebar.
Yes, right, that were unrelated. So what we did was we just put the related links there, and everything came back harder, better. Sure. So keep your links related. Don't just have a mass menu that, right? That's why kind of not big on having 100 links in the head of the page, like in the top mass.
The navigation.
Yeah. I look at those and just shake my head. You've given a user 100 links on a retail website, right? There's 100 links in a drop down. Well, you've crushed the values that can be passed from that page. Number one, right? The page rank or the internal juice passed to the other pages is a lot less. And it confuses users. They drop down 100 links and don't even know where to start.
It's funny. There seems to be differences of opinion regarding the use of directory-style navigation links. Some people love them. Some people hate them.
You mean in the SEO community, or
When you
people
hover over a link in a main navigation and you see 30 or 40 links to other pages, sometimes it's too much.
Oh, I've seen like over 100 links in a large retail website, right?
Yeah.
They've got every subcategory listed. You know, under shoes, they've got boots, sandals, you know, 6 different things. You know, that's what the home page of the shoes page is for. Right? I don't believe in all the subcategories being there too, because it dilutes, like, especially on the homepage. I'll leave that stuff right off the homepage if a customer, sometimes they would insist, oh, I've seen that, I think it works. Well, I don't, but I'll go along for now. But if it don't work, we'll change it. Then you track how many times those get clicked in the navigation, and people realize that ain't the best way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to do something like that, at the very least, track it so you can tell, is this helping me or not? A lot of people don't even do that.
I've seen some sites where they include the names of brands they sell in the navigation.
In the navigation?
So if they sell certain, like outdoor patio furniture, so instead of using descriptive words that indicate different types of outdoor patio furniture, tables, chairs, lounges, so on, they put links to products by certain manufacturers, and they feature that on pages of their site. And that if people don't know what those products are by brand name, the link is meaningless to them.
However, sometimes brands are very important.
Yeah.
When I was working, one of the first real commercial websites I worked on was for musical instruments. That was huge, the brands. You know, if you didn't have Gibson, though, you know, nobody, you were dead. Like, that was a lot of the business. So people we're searching by brand because they want a certain brand of guitar.
Yeah, I think that's true. And
But if
often
you
in retail, a lot like clothing
And the brands in guitars, for instance, are very well known.
But if you
Right.
have a navigation link that just says guitars, and then on the guitar page you have the brands,
Right.
right?
Oh, you mean like in the top navigation? They not only including all the products, but also all
They
the
were
brands.
putting the brands in the top navigation. It's like,
Oh, no.
No.
Too much. Like, I don't think people really think about how much that dilutes the page rank that's passed. You know, because that's page rank 101. Divide the number of links on the page, right?
how many people are aware of the different brands of patio furniture?
Yeah, I don't know. Not
That's
very
it,
many.
right. You gotta
You put brands of patio furniture in your top level navigation? It
right,
made no sense when I saw that.
right. But shoes, especially like running shoes, you want Nike, Reebok. You know, that's how they're going for brands there.
This
So
is
you're
the
right. You
beauty
have
of
to
the brand,
kind of decide, how are they searching by brand or are they searching by product name?
Right. So you've got tennis shoes, you got running shoes. Maybe putting the type of shoe in navigation isn't as good as putting the brand.
Right.
People can say,
But I think I agree with Bill. I think it depends. It depends because I agree. Not very many people are going to be searching for patio furniture by brand.
Yeah.
I saw a grill site doing that too. It's like, how many grill manufacturers do you know?
Right. Like I said, like we discussed here, it's like you have to look at it and say how important is brand in these searches. And you can tell that by the number of searches, including the brands.
Mhm.
If you look in your analytics and you see people are actually using the brands in those links, maybe they're not bad to use.
Also, my experience is being built that when people use a brand in a search,
Yeah.
they're farther along the conversion tunnel, right? They're further along in converting. They're closer to converting because they kind of know what they want.
They
Mhm.
researched what they're looking for. Yeah.
Right. They're looking now for price and
Yeah.
other parts other than just the product.
They're possibly comparing what you're offering to what somebody else is offering too.
Right. Right.
And they want better prices. They want better customer service. They want better shipping. And
Yeah.
they can compare you to somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's not just price. And too many people make that mistake. Say it's all
Price is so important. A lot of people are
price is absolutely important, but if somebody's offering the best deal in the world, it's going to take 5 weeks to ship it to you.
right. That's what I mean by then it becomes the, is your service better? That sort of thing.
Right, and I think also that when you're looking at high end things and you're shopping by brand, you already know that brand is a high ticket item. So the pricing is not your first sort on what you're looking for. So I used to work for a wholesale distributor of high-end kitchen appliances like built-in ovens and refrigerators and cooktops and all those things. And I noticed that if people were shopping by price, they were in the wrong place. Yeah, because they had no interest in what the features or the benefits were of high ticket items. They were just not interested. There was like, it's out of my category. It's not in my league. So I think that when you have higher ticket items, people are already not so much shopping by price per se as by the features that fit in their lifestyle.
So that type of store, you're confusing me there with that. You've got high ticket price items in a wholesale store.
Well, they wholesale to retail distributors. So actually, my job was I went to the retail distributors and cooked fancy stuff on this fancy equipment.
So
So it was the theory being my role was, if you use this X, you'll be able to cook like this.
So was this site known as a wholesale distributor?
I'm sorry.
Was this site known as a wholesale distributor?
The website was for retail people, but it also was available to the public to investigate what the different lines were, appliance lines, and what they offered.
They were providing information, but not
Providing
selling.
information, yeah, that supported their retail distributor.
Right, right. They wouldn't sell on the site though to retailers, right?
Right.
Yeah. I've worked in that situation.
That was a way fun job. I had a budget and I was able to cook whatever I wanted. So
So this was business to business?
it was business to business. But because I was at the retail where I physically was, even though I was hired by the wholesaler,
Yeah.
I was at the retail shops to help boost their business.
Show people how to use the equipment.
Show people how to use the equipment, right? That was an interesting, Bill. You've got to live like very close to where I lived in South Carlsbad, because you keep showing the same photos. But when I moved to Southern California, I said, I called up and I said, hey, thanks for the good times. I have to move. And they said, oh, no, we need people in Southern California. And the marketing was so different. Oh, it was in Northern California, people are very food oriented. And, people would say, why are you using that pepper instead of, this pepper? Or, why did you choose that knife over, whatever it was. And in Southern California, it was, what size hole do I have to cut in the wall to put this oven in? It was like people didn't really care about the food. They only wanted the appliances for image. It was a very different market.
Open kitchens where people could see what they were cooking.
Yeah.
Probably pretty popular in California.
Yeah. But that was a big difference I noticed between North and South. Well, I lived in the town of Sonoma where everything is food and wine.
I've been to Sonoma, yeah.
Everybody it's like there's at least a potluck somewhere a week, and everybody brings their own wine, and everybody brings their own, incredible recipe for something or other. So it's just a different way of approaching food.
And it's the Sonoma that was in the John Steinbeck novels.
Yep.
So it's well known as being a place where people grow things.
And it's still, I mean, one of the things I was active in Sonoma was a group that helped foster local produce being used in local restaurants. And it's just a very food and wine focused community.
So the farm to table movement was something big there.
Yeah, there were a couple of chain restaurants that moved in and closed within months because nobody went there, So, yeah, it's just a different way, but that's a long way from websites and retail. But just my point was at the beginning about when you have higher ticket items, people are not necessarily influenced by price so much as features and benefits to their lifestyle. It's not even the features per se, it's how does it fit in my lifestyle.
So there's an element of customizing, of answering questions.
Correct. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so they shouldn't have been trying to do the sale on the website anyhow. That's
No,
something you have to
no, uh-uh.
do another way.
Now I've come across furniture websites that were like that, where you couldn't buy. And it was a little
Oh, and then there's somewhere it says, find these at these stores or retail outlets or something like that. Yeah.
Well, a lot of wholesalers, like manufacturers, they don't sell on their websites because if they did, they couldn't sell anything to the wholesalers.
Hmm.
I know people that when they've seen that have just gone mental on the manufacturer and dropped it for that reason. Like, I'm not going to compete with you. I can't. So I'm going to buy someone else's product.
Yeah.
To me, that if you're a manufacturer, you have to make your choice. You're either going to sell it all or you're going to share it, but you can't take from people's mouths. However, then you're a company like Gibson Guitar who does do that and decide which guys get to sell on the web.
you got to be a pretty good guitar manufacturer to be able.
Yeah, you do. You have to have
That's their power, is they sell a lot. That's a brand everyone wants, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Down to pretty well saying only 2 people could sell guitars online. And they were the biggest national distributors offline. So all they were doing was putting the offline businesses, making it, taking that away from them, just giving it to the big shops.
But everybody isn't Gibson.
Oh yeah, we were selling a lot of them. They came in and said, no, you got to take all this down, and we're not going to you can sell them in your store, but you can't sell them on the website. So we just quit buying them. Promoted other brands.
You can sell them in the store, but you can't sell them on the website. Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, basically the big distributors offline went to them and said, you can only sell to us online. We want which was kind of hokey because they already own 5 companies on the web, right? Every time a company got big, they just buy them. So they had most of the results anyhow. They couldn't compete with us, though, because I was running the show. And we had video on there, on our site, which just was driving traffic like crazy. Nobody else was doing it at the time.
Wow.
Well, we're at the top of the hour, guys.
Okay, another speedy hour then.
Yeah, they go by pretty fast.
I do. Where's Doc? He couldn't make it today.
Doc had a client he had to contact.
Oh, okay.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, it does happen. I've had that happen. So, yeah, and Steve is okay?
Don't know. He's always busy, though, so. Especially this time of year, it's just going towards Christmas, and there was all over the news, but because it was PPC, I didn't even notice it. But Google has changed the match, I guess, on PPC again, and I guess it's causing a lot of problems for some people. Steve had already said that he was having trouble with matching. Had to have so many negative keywords because of, when I did.
Exact match was no longer exact.
You can do it, but it doesn't bring up very many.
Yeah.
doesn't come up very much because someone has to put in the exact phrase.
Yeah.
However, when I did it, that's how I did it. I broke each campaign down into the type of match I wanted, and I was able to save a lot of money that way.
Well, I have to say that's it for today, folks. Thank you for joining us. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao.